Here is a Lakewood box fan. I guess this is what you would consider a fourth generation. The blades on these are not quite the same as the standard third generation is. And the cabinet's a little bit thinner as well. I think this is technically a model 200 or 200i maybe. It says 200 AQ on the bottom, which I think is a date code. I don't know. Tori, we need some advice here. What's the 200 AQ? 2.1 amps. I'm pretty sure this is a 200i. The motor is branded Lakewood Engineering. It's actually a Class B motor, which is pretty incredible. I don't think I can get a good shot of this on the camera. I can't believe it's a Class B. That's incredible. As I've said before, these were as cheap as box fans ever should have gotten. Yes, it's thin, it's not as heavy as the old ones were, it's not as durable as the old ones were, but you've still got a halfway decent blade set. You've still got a solid, dependable motor. And this thing, if you take care of it, this will last decades. This will provide decades of reliable service. Is it actually rated for continuous duty? It doesn't explicitly say. But it does say installation Class B. So that's more or less like an attic fan motor. That says 2.1 on the motor itself. And it says 2.1 on the bottom. Oh, we're 2 for 2 tonight with fans that match power consumption on the motor and on the bottom. Came with one of the feet. So a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, a month and a half ago, I don't remember exactly when the videos came out, but I had showed a video of a newer, or actually it was new, brand new, from the store, fresh from the store. It was a commercial electric branded high velocity fan, and that is what I traded for this. This was being used to dry out a garage. It was a situation kind of like mine where the garage flooded when it rains, and this was being used to dry out the floor, and I just said, nah, there's better use cases for it than that. It's a really nice example. So this was an expensive acquisition, I suppose you could say, but it was well worth it. Came with one of the feet, which are very hard to find. In case you forget what it is, it'll tell you that it's a foot to fan. Oh, it says attached to fan. Separate, attached to fan. Now, these are pretty rare. These are much more rare than the fans themselves. And as far as the fan itself goes, this is a beautiful example. There's no broken slats on the guard whatsoever. The paint is flawless. The handles here, nothing's yellowed. The motor is perfectly clean. There's no dust in the windings. Cord's in good shape. This is really, really nice. When this is cleaned up, it's going to look like it's brand new. I'm sure this is very low hours. I wouldn't be surprised if this was not used up until maybe this season. Because a lot of the stuff in the house where this came from was new old stock. This came from that house I've talked about a handful of times before with all the new old stock equipment. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was new old stock. This also came from the same location where that seemingly never used new old stock 3733 from '99 came from, and that also appears to have never been used, and I bet it was stored and just recently dug out for service, or to be used, to be put into service. So this is really, really nice. Excellent condition. This is going to clean up incredibly well. So I like these for the, I've used one of these in the kitchen window this entire summer because it's really the only decent box fan that fits on that cheesy window, because these are fairly small height wise. You can see the blades go almost to the, I mean there's not even an inch of clearance at the top, so the cabinet's very small in terms of height and width, so it clears fairly well the opening vertically. And because the cabinet is so thin, it kind of rests nicely on the windowsill. I still hold it in place with a piece of wire, but it doesn't want to tip out by itself. So it's excellent application for the living room window or any of the two back windows that are the same size. So that's where I've been using these. Also, it would also work good in the computer room windows. I forget what those are called, like the crank out ones. There's a particular term for them, I think, but I don't recall what it is. So it would be neat to see both of these in the front of the house. I have this stupid thing with duplicates. I love duplicates of things, and so I like to set up duplicate fans in the windows, which is psychotic and dumb because now there's so much extra stuff in the house, but it is what it is. So with that aside, let's plug this in and see how it runs. Well, I already know how it runs, but you can get to see how it runs. We are testing at 119.6 the volts. Go over to the amps. I'm not going to put the foot on. I don't think it's going to fall over. Start up on low. Nice, calm, and quiet low. These are not as powerful as the second generation ones were, but they can still get going pretty good on high. A very steady, smooth breeze. Balance is okay. It's not perfect, but it's certainly within reason. Yeah, it's not bad at all. That is 0.63 the amps, 75 the watts, with a power factor of 0.88 the power factor, which is exceptionally high for a shaded pole motor. These are very good quality motors used in these fans, despite being a cheaper product. You can see the hub is all off-centered. I would have thought this was going to be in bad balance, but it's still pretty good. Now we'll go to medium, and there's going to be a pretty big jump up in speed. The medium is not between low and high, it's more towards high. That is 0.97 the amps, 87 the watts, power factor is 0.76 the power factor, and the high. It's actually nowhere near tipping over. This is not like the Lasco ones of more recent times where the things are so lightweight that they actually just tip over when you turn them on medium or high. This is more just for extra stability. I suppose maybe on certain types of carpet you might actually need it. Well, high it gets going pretty good. But the owner is definitely better off with that other fan in terms of drying the garage out. Those aren't bad fans. They definitely move more air than these in terms of velocity. This might move more air in terms of volume, I'm not sure, it's hard to say. And this is a whole different product category. This is not a high velocity fan. It's not built to perform like one, it's built to perform like a residential fan. So naturally, you have to expect this to be less powerful. Over there, I can feel it clear across the room. These blow out to the sides more than they do out front. Like I'm standing right in front of it here, and I feel almost nothing. But if I move a couple of feet off to the side, I get a pretty nice stream of air. Which is nice, because then you can put this in the corner of the room, and you get airflow across much of the room, as opposed to just one stream in the center. It's a little bit out of balance, but nothing crazy. It looks like the clock on the blades is pretty bad, which is probably what's throwing it out of balance. That, unfortunately, is very hard to fix when it comes to plastic blades. Yeah, see how bad that is? That's really bad. That's probably almost a 1/4 inch or more. That almost certainly is what's throwing it out of balance. Sometimes you can correct it by adding weights in the center of the hub. I often will add hot glue in the center, blobs of hot glue to balance it out. So I might have to try that on this one. So anyways, that's that for this one. Another Lakewood 200i. I definitely want to get this one cleaned up and use this in the front windows before the end of this year. I think this is going to come out really nice once we clean it up.